Hi, this is Chuck Hyde, Vistage Chair here in Northwest Arkansas. And I noticed something this week that I wanted to comment on and throw out there for leaders to consider. And it has to do with Dr. Fauci. Now, several months ago, none of us knew who Dr. Fauci was, or very few, maybe just in a specific field, specific part of our society. But now I think pretty much everyone knows Dr. Fauci, at least his name, and we relate it quickly to what's going on around COVID-19. Now, this week, he's begun to endure a healthy amount of criticism and critique for things that he's been saying. And frankly, it's how his message may have changed. And there people are claiming some inconsistencies. They say, well, hey, you used to say we have this under control, and now we don't have it under control. And you used to tell us that once you said that we didn't need to wear masks, and now you're saying everybody's got to wear a mask. And those are just a couple of examples of things where people are kind of pointing out inconsistencies. And what it seems like to me, at least, is that when we look at some of what he's been saying and where those consistencies might exist, those were offered in different times with different information available and in much different context. Yet all of a sudden, we're calling into question his character, his competence, which both affect his credibility as someone who is a highly credentialed, recognized expert in his field. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think Dr. Fauci applied for the job of the nation's chief discerner and recommender regarding COVID-19. Now, he might have. That might have been a job posting. He may have gone after it. But I think he was asked and called on to serve in this context. Now, time will tell, and when we get through this, and we will get through it, who knows when, but we're going to get through this. But it'll be interesting to see how history writes what I'm calling the Ballad of Dr. Fauci. Will he be the man who literally saved this country hundreds of thousands of lives because of the judgment, the recommendations, and the role that he's played in this? Or will he be remembered as the man who cost this country billions and billions of dollars unnecessarily because of these things we didn't need to do after all? I don't know. I think history will tell. I've got my own opinion about that. But what Dr. Fauci seems to me to represent, and what has come to mind is and the parallel I would draw is Teddy Roosevelt's famous speech. Now we refer to a section of this as the man in the arena. And that Dr. Fauci is that man in the arena. And Roosevelt's words describe this man as whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, and at best knows the end of triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails while daring greatly. That feels like Dr. Fauci to me. Now, as for the critics, TR also has descriptives for them, and he ends this section of the speech as describing people in the stands who would critique as the cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Now, as leaders, I think this has great parallels for us. I've been in situations like this myself, not in global pandemic, grant you, but in situations where things are just changing and things are pretty dynamic and things are pretty uncertain. And it's the conversation I'm having right now with the leaders in my Vistage groups, because they are in huge situations of change. They're dealing with ambiguous and incomplete information, and frankly, they're tired. And you know what? Their people are tired, and it's hard. And I would just say that, hey, leaders, guess what? It comes with the territory. The thing that I'm convinced of more and more is that leadership is hard. And so people are looking to us, though, for both clarity and confidence that it's going to be okay. And leadership demands that, leadership brings that. In the times where I've experienced this very thing, when I've been criticized or when I've been wrong about something, I've had to change what I've said about something. I've had to acknowledge those things. I will tell you, when that criticism comes, it does hurt. And it's disappointing at times. And I know what that feels like, sometimes from very unexpected sources. But again, I think it comes with the territory. Now, leaders, guess what? Sometimes the only thing we can do is the next right thing, right? We've got to hold things fairly loosely, which I want to talk about here in a second. And so I think that's really important right now. And then there's three things that I want to point out to you that I hope are going to be helpful. The first is I'm talking a lot about endurance right now. My personal opinion, we're in this for the long haul. This isn't going to change. Whatever we thought was normal and return to normal and all the new normal and all this stuff isn't just around the corner. I had a friend the other day, he was paraphrasing Churchill, and says that we're not at the end. In fact, we're not even at the end of the beginning. And I think that's where we are, personal opinion. But I think taking that posture can help us understand what it's going to mean to have the endurance as leaders we're going to need to be able to pass that endurance on to the people that we're leading. So the first big idea is endurance. The second one is resilience. I think it's the ability to hold things loosely, hold them with an open hand, and understand the need to pivot when new information comes, when market conditions change, when something happens around us that we didn't expect. And we've got to say, that wasn't the plan. Now we've got to make a new plan. Now we're going to go this way. And it's, again, going back to that, doing the next right thing, the ability to pivot, the ability to bounce back. That is resilience. And I think we're going to need boatloads of it through this time. The third thing I would share with you is motive. In my CEO role, one of the things I used to work really, really hard at was that people would always understand and never have to question my motive. So that if they didn't agree with a decision I made, or maybe I was wrong about something, and there were times when I was wrong, or sometimes they weren't clear. They couldn't understand what direction we were going or why I made a certain decision. Whatever was true, that in all of that, they never had to question my motive, right? They could trust that motive was pure. They could trust that the motive was shared in terms of where we wanted to go, and in our collective good and our collective outcome. Now, one of the ways I think we can do that when things are very incomplete and things are very uncertain and things are dynamic and changing rapidly, very high degree of turbulence, and you can't really predict, and you can't say with certainty, this is what's going to happen. I think what you can say is, here are the principles by which I'm going to make decisions, or we as a leadership team are going to make our decisions. These are the things you can count on. If you can convey character and principles on here's how we're going to approach it, so that when things come through, this is the filter, this is the criteria, whatever comes our way is going to be rinsed through these things. That will give people something that they can hold on to when everything else is unclear. There's the clarity they need. And I think people, in my experience, would suggest that people will it goes a long way in buying that clarity and confidence that they're looking for, so that no matter what else happens, they know what they can count on. They know where their leader's taking them. So I hope that's helpful. It's something I think to work on. I think it's something that we're being faced with, and it's going to be demanded of us. And I wish you nothing but the best in all of it as we continue to walk this path as leaders together. Good luck. Thanks.